Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 29th of March, comes to you from London. And the dollar moving higher still yesterday, and we're seeing this morning just holding those gains. So the dollar is actually short-term bullish, as we're seeing here. So the euro, therefore, is falling against the dollar as we would expect, so that's short-term bearish. Japanese yen normally gives a good heads up for the dollar, and we're seeing here that the dollar is looking pretty strong against the yen. Yen is a safe haven, of course, so we tend to see rising dollar, weaker yen when political tensions are easing, and certainly in the region. That seems to be the case with North Korea, less of an issue after the China meeting. So we're seeing uh, sterling falling against the dollar, falling against the euro, and also falling against the Swiss franc uh, and against the Australian dollar. So just turning bearish there as well. So the recent run in sterling just showing some weakness. Bitcoin down significantly, down 4% to 7,500. We've got targets here on the medium term as low as 5,000 on Bitcoin. So it does look like we've got further to fall, making new lows again this morning. Not yet hitting below the February lows, but worrying nonetheless for Bitcoin. Looking at US stocks, tech still the big worry in the US, with pressures building, with regulatory issues coming to the fore, and tighter regulation now mooted for a lot of US tech stocks. So S&P is starting to test these lows again. Of course, if we go lower than the February low, that would be confirmation that the trend in stocks that we've seen over the last few years is coming to an end. And here we see on the Nasdaq we're still bearish below the cloud, downside potential. If we go lower today than we did yesterday, then that's 9% downside potential. So really important is to see where we finish the day before the holiday. Looking at the Dow, we're bearish here below the cloud as well, and the Russell 2000 also showing signs of being bearish as well. So um, really, it's all about can we recover from here. The futures are up very slightly this morning. The S&P future is up a little bit, and the Nasdaq E-mini is up just under 0.5%. So we might see a little bit of recovery as we run into Easter. The UK market back above the 7,000 level this morning. Yesterday, we're not opened yet this morning. Where the futures are suggesting we will open slightly higher, but it's still bearish below the cloud. And of course, the FTSE is making new lows. So the bull run for UK equities is certainly come to an end. And looking at the FTSE 250, we're now making lows back to a year ago. So again, that's not good for the market, and we do have downside targets not yet activated. Um, we do have actually a medium-term target of 13% downside activated. Looking at the DAX, the German DAX is little changed yesterday, but still looking pretty bearish, medium and long term as well. The long-term chart holding up, but medium and short-term charts bearish, and the same with the CAC current. Taking a look at the Japanese market, Japan recovered a little bit on the easing of geopolitical tensions in the region, and Hang Seng as well, much the same, and even the Chinese market actually recovered quite strongly to end 1% up, but there were falls earlier in the session. Looking at the Sensex, it's struggled to rise, so it is sitting almost two-thirds down. And the Australian market also fell with a number of energy shares dragging the market down, but that again making multi-month lows back to October levels, so not good for the Australian market. Brent crude's holding this near $70 levels at 69.88 this morning, just slightly bearish, but not really selling off, so holding on to the recent gains. The same is true of light crude. Gold has actually fallen back quite significantly over the last couple of days, and we are bearish below the cloud on gold. Coming back to test support at the moment, the 1382 target is still in train. That remains in train whilst we stay above 1306, which is where that target was given. So that's key. Taking a look at silver, we see silver is also heading lower, so looking pretty bearish there as well. The big story, of course, is tech. Um, and the US tech majors all still looking pretty worrying. Apple down, below the cloud now on its medium-term chart. Amazon really falling off very heavily yesterday. Having had a great run recently, Amazon it's vulnerable to bigger falls, I guess. And if we look at Alphabet, we are also seeing, of course, Google shares just drifting lower and turning medium-term bearish. So the stocks that were driving the market higher last year are now dragging the market down. Facebook sitting at that 153 level in the doldrums. We have got downside targets now to as low as 135, not yet activated, but multiple downside targets, and these upside targets now coming off the charts. So the picture is looking less and less good for Facebook. Last of all, we take a look at Microsoft, and Microsoft is also just struggling below the cloud on the short term, although the medium term trend here is intact. That's it for today. Have a great Easter weekend. Until Tuesday next week, happy charting. See you then.